The sun had barely peeked over the horizon when Olivia stepped onto her front porch, coffee in hand, wearing one of those soft cotton robes her late husband used to tease her about. She blinked at the pink sky, but her thoughts were elsewhere. It had been 6 years since Mark passed away, but mornings like this made it feel like yesterday. Inside the house, the sound of sneakers scuffling on hardwood broke her reverie. She turned and smiled at Ethan, their only son, now 16. He was stretching, yawning wide, and rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Morning, Mom," he said, voice still groggy. "Morning, baby," she replied, but her heart caught in her chest as she looked at him. It wasn't just the way Ethan had grown taller this past year, or how his jaw had begun to square. It was something else. His eyes, the way he moved, even the slight smile he gave when he saw her. It was all so achingly familiar. He looked so much like his father. Olivia wasn't prepared for that kind of resemblance. It wasn't just physical. It was in the little things, too. The way Ethan tilted his head when he was thinking, how he drummed his fingers on the table when nervous. Mark used to do the exact same things. Sometimes, Olivia found herself staring at Ethan, caught in a wave of nostalgia that made her chest feel too tight. Ethan plopped down on the couch and grabbed the TV remote. Olivia walked back in and sat beside him, sipping her coffee, eyes occasionally drifting toward his profile. He turned to her suddenly. "Why are you looking at me like that?" he asked, smirking. She chuckled. "You just reminded me of your dad." Ethan paused, remote still in hand. "People say that a lot lately." "It's true," she said, her voice softening. "It's not just your face. It's your whole being. It's like I'm seeing a piece of him again." Ethan looked away, a little embarrassed, a little honored. They didn't talk about Mark much anymore. It wasn't because they didn't love him, they did, deeply. But time had trained them to tuck the grief into corners they didn't often visit. But now, with Ethan becoming more like him each day, those memories were stirring again. Later that afternoon, Olivia walked into Ethan's room to drop off some clean laundry. She froze in the doorway. Ethan was sitting at his desk, wearing one of Mark's old sweatshirts, the faded gray one with the torn collar and the Boston Red Sox logo. Olivia had kept a few of Mark's things in storage, not expecting Ethan to ever be interested in them. She didn't even know he'd found them. Ethan looked up and noticed her expression. "I didn't mean to snoop," he said quickly. I saw the box in the attic and—" "It's okay," she said, stepping in slowly, her voice trembling just slightly. "It looks good on you." Ethan smiled. "Dad must have been built like me, huh? Exactly like you." They sat together for a while, Olivia perched on the edge of his bed while Ethan told her how he'd been reading some of Mark's old journals. Mark had been a meticulous writer, the kind who documented not just events but feelings. Ethan had found passages about Olivia's first pregnancy, about Mark's worries of becoming a father, about the joy he felt the first time he held Ethan in his arms. "He was scared," Ethan said, surprised. Olivia laughed. "Terrified. He thought he was going to mess you up." "He didn't," Ethan said softly. "No, he didn't." The conversation unlocked a floodgate. Over the next few weeks, Ethan kept asking questions. What was Dad like in high school? Did he play sports? Was he ever afraid? Did he cry? Yes, 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 and yes. Olivia told him about Mark's terrible cooking experiments, how he once tried to make banana pancakes and nearly set the kitchen on fire. She shared how Mark used to sing badly but confidently, especially in the shower. How he'd surprise her with flowers for no reason. How he was stubborn but never unkind. Ethan soaked it all in. He wanted to know everything. One weekend, Ethan asked Olivia if she wanted to come with him to the garage. He'd been tinkering with Mark's old project car, a 1971 Mustang that had sat collecting dust since his death. Olivia hadn't dared to even lift the tarp covering it. It was too painful. But when Ethan pulled off the tarp, revealing the sleek body beneath, Olivia gasped. It wasn't just the car. It was the way Ethan looked under the hood, grease on his hands, eyes lit up with curiosity, just like Mark used to look on Sunday afternoons. I've been watching videos, Ethan said, trying to figure out how to fix it up. I didn't even know you were interested in cars. I wasn't. Not really. But Dad was. I want to finish it. For him. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. He would be so proud of you. I hope so. Ethan started spending more time in the garage. Olivia would sometimes bring him lemonade or just sit nearby with a book, though she rarely read a word. She was content watching him work, watching the boy grow into a man who mirrored someone she'd loved with her whole soul. But it wasn't always easy. There were moments when the resemblance was too much. Once, Ethan came out of his room wearing Mark's favorite cologne. Olivia had to excuse herself and cry quietly in the bathroom. Another time, he used one of Mark's old jokes during dinner and her fork froze halfway to her mouth. He was not Mark. But he was a part of him. Senior year rolled around, and Ethan was preparing for college. One evening, he came home with a big envelope in hand. I got in, he said. Where? Columbia. Olivia's eyes widened. That's incredible. Your dad would have been thrilled. I want to study journalism. Like he wanted to do. Remember? Olivia nodded. Mark had always dreamed of being a journalist before life had led him into architecture. But the dream never left his heart. And now, here was Ethan, ready to carry that dream forward. On the night before Ethan was set to leave for New York, Olivia walked into his room with an old photo album. They sat on the floor and flipped through pages. Wedding photos, baby pictures, first Christmas, first camping trip. Ethan was quiet for a while. You think he's proud of me? He asked. Olivia turned to him, placing a hand on his cheek. He was proud of you the day you were born. Everything you've done since has only made that pride grow. I wish I'd known him better. I wish he could have known you like this, she whispered. The next morning, they loaded up the car and began the drive. Olivia was quiet most of the way, stealing glances at her son who, despite the miles ahead, looked more rooted in his identity than ever. When they reached the campus, Olivia helped unpack. Before she left, she handed Ethan a small wrapped box. He opened it to find a leather-bound journal. Inside, on the first page, was a handwritten note. This journal belonged to your father. I thought you should have it now. Fill its pages with your own story, and know that a part of him lives in you, always. Ethan hugged her tightly, both of them holding back tears.